We do have a staff report from our Public Safety Department, and Chief Alan Hill is going to prepare that. Welcome, Chief Hill.
Thank you, Your Honor. Council, Mr. Klops. Just going to update you on a few things within the Safety Department. One of the things I just want to talk about is just real quickly is our in-service training program. You know, often we talk about everything, our public safety officer in the 3 disciplines, but you know, it really takes a lot of dedication and effort to maintain proficiency in all 3 disciplines. And as a result of that, we really provide a comprehensive in-service training program for all public safety officers. And you know, over the last 5 years, we've averaged almost 3,400 hours of in-service training annually as a department. You know, when you talk about 2,080 hours being a work year for the average 40-hour employee, we're providing almost 18 to 20 months worth of training every year for our organization, covering a variety of topics. The training is received from a variety of platforms, online continuing education programs, classroom setting, and more importantly, practical training exercises. And I'll just briefly run through these, but here's some of the full in-service training programs that we touched on in 2019. On our EMS training side, drug emergencies, obviously the opioid, the heroin epidemic is still here a little bit. It's not talked about as much because it's slowed down, but you know, we have responded in the past on heroin overdoses, and we need to make sure, you know, we're keeping our skills up with the best practices. SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, the Ohio trauma triage, pediatric trauma, heat emergencies, taser and agitated delirium, behavioral emergencies, and geriatric assessments and falls. We really try to cover the gamut: trauma, geriatrics, and pediatrics. 3 of the most critical runs we respond on. We need to make sure that we're able to perform. Switching gears to the fire side, we have our SCBA donning drills. That's the self-containing breathing apparatus, getting dressed up in your gear, getting ready to respond. When we talk about that 5-minute apparatus time or 4-minute apparatus time that we continually meet, a big part, a big makeup in that is how long does it take you to get your gear on so you're able to respond. Because if you don't put your gear on while you're responding, you get in your gear before you respond. So that's why it's important. When you're only responding to 100 runs a year, you need to make sure you maintain proficiency in getting the gear on and getting out the door. Chimney fires, fire suppression, fire engine pump operations, emergency vehicle and safety driving, gas meter training. Every year we conduct a annual hazmat refresher course. We also conduct live burn scenarios at the Dayton Fire Training Center and ladder deployment as well. Police training, Terry stops and warrantless searches, cultural competency, implicit bias training, domestic violence training, elder abuse, legal updates, school safety, community policing in the 21st century, use of force and defensive tactics, statement analysis, and our continuing firearms training program. So every public safety officer received training in 2019 on every single one of those topics, and they can range anywhere from 1 to 2 hours to 4 hours or more. If you ask the guys and gals that you see, they almost feel like they're training every day when they come into work, and that's because they are, because there's typically a time set out almost every day for them to receive training on some type of topic. And then we address our supervisors in the command staff. The entire safety staff in 2019 received leadership training on ethical issues for law enforcement, correcting poor performance, generational difference in the workplace, leading by example, managing change, ethical leadership, and reducing liability for small agencies. Our dispatchers, we train them on handling calls for service, understanding the stress for a dispatcher, going beyond the basics, verbal judo, communication skills for dispatchers. And as part of the PSAP compliance standards that were issued by the state of Ohio back in 2016, and we were required to be in compliance. Last year, every single one of our dispatchers is emergency medical dispatch training certified. So if you call with an event, they have the ability to give pre-arrival instructions. I think it's a very important component, to our comprehensive services that we provide, that the person you're speaking to on the phone, if you have a significant medical event, can give pre-arrival instructions. Specialty training, narcotics investigations training. We talked about, Detective Yount and his role down at TCSU. Extreme close quarter concepts. We continue to build up our evidence technicians by sending officers to this training. Traffic collision reconstructionist. A couple years ago, we hired Officer Chris Sloan from the Mason Police Department, and at the time we hired him, he had one more course to complete before he became a fully certified accident reconstructionist, and he completed that class in November of this past year. So for an agency our size to have a fully certified accident reconstructionist who's capable of investigating any crash that we could have in our community is a valuable asset to the organization. It's been a long time since we've had somebody that has had this certification. Bike patrol officers, we added 3 bike patrol officers in 2019, sexual assault investigations, certified armor courses, interview and interrogation, and active shooter training. So, that's a pretty comprehensive program, and it's not just 2019. This is the type of in-service training program that goes on every year that we provide for all safety officers, and I just thought it was important to touch on it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Counsel.